I'm old in internet years. In YouTube years, I'm like already dead and buried. I was born in 1980, a mere 7 years before Steve Wilhite developed the graphics interchange format, .gif. And so when I started saving files of that type, along with TIFFs and bitmaps and JPEGs, I called it GIF. Why? I don't know. I had never heard it spoken before. Didn't exactly come up frequently in local news broadcasts or on X-Men, the animated Saturday morning TV show, or whatever else I was watching when I was that age. My brain saw GIF and said GIF. Maybe it was thinking of gin or giraffes. I don't know. It doesn't matter. When it did eventually come up in conversation with another computer nerd friend, he said, "Oh, I thought it was pronounced GIF." And I said, "Oh, is it?" And he said, "I don't know. I've never heard it pronounced before." And I said, me neither. Maybe you're right. And then we moved on because we were like 10 years old and who gives a fuck? Imagine my surprise 25 years later when otherwise intelligent people are still bickering over this on the internet. I honestly don't care which one you say, GIF or GIF, but it is my fucking brand to be annoyed when I see bad arguments being made on the internet. So that's what today's video is all about. I'm going to go through the most frequent arguments that I see made in this debate. And I'm going to tell you why every single one of them is completely stupid and you need to stop using it because it's embarrassing for you. Before I dive in, let me point out that this all happened recently because dictionary.com tweeted that GIF is pronounced with a soft G, GIF, and Merriam-Webster replied with shock. This is the problem with hilarious brand Twitter accounts getting in the way of actual good academic practice. Neither of those dictionary accounts are correct, and I'll explain why in my very first counter argument. So number one, the argument is, it's pronounced GIF because the guy who invented it says so. It's true, Steve Wilhite is on record as saying that GIF is pronounced with a soft G, GIF. This argument is known as prescriptivist thinking, the idea that language should be predetermined by a great authority and then everyone else should adhere to whatever that authority says. It's a good way for a language to die, because that's not how language works. Language is a living thing that is constantly changing. I may find it annoying that people these days say something begs the question when they really mean to say it makes me think of a question, or when they say literally when they mean figuratively but emphasized. But it's a losing battle to try to tell people that they're using these words and phrases incorrectly when the general public at large is all doing it. Because if the general public is all doing it, then that's what those words mean now. That's how language works. What it's really about is whether or not people understand you. If you say, "I literally died," and people think you actually died, that's a problem. But if they understand that you are still alive and just trying to emphasize what happened to you, then you've succeeded. And that's what that word means now. A lot of people hate this about language. I used to. Because I'm a writer, I'm an English language aficionado, so I used to take great pride in the fact that I know what words really mean, and it made me look better and more educated to be able to use them properly and correct people when they weren't using them properly. But that was a misplaced pride. No one actually cares. Use language the way language is used. Someone using a more recent term or a recently changed definition of a term isn't stupider or crasser or leading to the destruction of the beautiful English language. It's just how language works. That's why dictionaries are meant to be, and at their best, when they are descriptivist, not prescriptivist. Descriptivist means that they describe what they see society doing to better help people who want to be understood, not demanding that people use words a certain way, but to say, hey, most people mean this when they use this word. If dictionary.com and Merriam-Webster were doing their jobs, they would never make a last word of authority statement on how a word should be pronounced, only to say that most people pronounce this one way, other people pronounce it this way. So yeah, it doesn't matter what Steve thinks about whether it's GIF or JIFF. Steve made the format and released it to the general public, but it's not his puppy. You can name your puppy, but once you put something out into the world, it's everybody's puppy, and you can't demand what people call it. Call it whatever you want. Argument number 2. It's pronounced GIF because the G stands for graphics. Yeah, that's just not how these types of acronyms work. Sorry, William Shatner. No one needs to go back to school, you perpetual jackass. And by the way, this is why I hate this entire debate, because everyone in it thinks that they're so much smarter than the people on the other side. Jesus Christ, give it a rest already. Acronyms, unlike particular acronyms called initialisms, like IBM. Acronyms like GIF are pronounced as a word, so the letters in the word adhere to the rules of the language that the word is based on. The U in scuba stands for underwater, but we don't say scuba. NATO stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization, but we don't say nada. And sorry, my dear friend Phil Plate, but it doesn't only apply to vowels, or else we would call light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation LASER. There are thousands of other examples that show that this argument just doesn't hold up. Argument number 3. GIF makes people think you're talking about peanut butter. Where to even begin with this one? So many people have tweeted this at me. I am shook. Are you guys okay? Seriously, are you okay? Because I feel like you're all on one of those legal teams that goes after a mom and pop fruit stand called Apples because it's infringing on the trademark and people are going to think that it's actually an Apple store. If I told you I was going to send you a GIF, would you seriously be sitting by your mailbox waiting for a fucking jar of peanut butter to show up? I hope not. Are you okay? Also, as Lizard Rumsfeld points out on Twitter, which this is something I did not know, the developers wanted to play off the peanut butter slogan by saying choosy developers choose GIF. Again, it doesn't matter what the developers originally wanted it called, but that is a fun bit of trivia. So thanks. So while I don't think anybody has ever confused GIF the file format with GIF the peanut butter, I actually have been confused when I heard friends say that they had sent someone a GIF, because it sounds almost exactly like gift. Does that make GIF right? No, but does it make it slightly better in my opinion? Yeah. But again, it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what people are using. Now, here are the only 2 arguments that I think are worthwhile. Argument number 1, pronouncing it GIF can cause confusion due to the .gif file format. I'll be honest, I had never heard of .gif until this blew up on Twitter. So thanks to Sexual Scientist on Twitter for pointing it out. Wikipedia informs me that this is a version of the JPEG format that is rarely used due to significant shortcomings. And that's why, for the most part, we continue to use files ending in JPG or .jpeg. If .gif was actually used, this would in fact be a pretty good argument for encouraging people to say GIF instead of GIF. It's not widely used. It's very rarely used, so it's really not a big deal, but I do have to say that that is a point in the favor of the GIF crowd. Half a point. Some small fraction of a point. Argument number 2 that is actually worthwhile, most people pronounce it GIF. And this is the descriptivist argument, and it's actually one that I never, ever see used by people in these online arguments over GIF versus GIF. Nobody ever says this. And I think the reason why is this. The people who engage in this argument most often want to be seen as the most logical and reasonable, and while they value scientific thinking, they don't understand or respect the way actual linguistics work. In 2017, a survey on Stack Overflow found that the majority of people said GIF, except in India and parts of Africa. Those are all programmers, but this backs up a 2014 Mashable survey of 30,000 people from nearly 200 different countries that found that 70% said GIF, so it holds up. And That's the only thing that really matters. Most people say GIF, and so they'll probably continue saying GIF while those of us who say GIF slowly die out. Whether or not that happens before the format dies itself, that's another argument altogether. But either way, the argument would be over. But yeah, if you want to be understood by the most number of people, you could say GIF is the way to go. That said, 30% of the population saying GIF means that it's extremely common, enough that you should not be worried that people will understand you. It's not like saying Mimi, which Mashable found a shocking 18% of people do instead of saying meme. So that's another fraction of a point on the GIF side. And that's it. Those are the only two semi-decent arguments. Both of them point towards GIF, so you may wonder why I continue to say JIFF. Easy, because I've literally said it for 25 years. It's not worth the effort to break the habit when everyone still understands what I mean. The only reason I have considered breaking that habit, because it would prevent those 70% of people from scoffing every time I say it, pretending like they have some moral high ground over me because they think I'm saying a friend texted me a funny jar of peanut butter the other day.